ghostly apparitions, UFOs, and aliens, and mysterious creatures lurking in hidden depths around us. These are the mysteries which baffle, yet pique our curiosity. Will we ever prove their existence? Welcome to Paranormal Experienced Radio. Listen as your host and seasoned researcher Kat Hobson discovers new evidence, bringing us closer to the truth with informative guest interviews, the latest paranormal news, investigation advice, and equipment tips. Kat is a lead investigator with SCARE, located in Birmingham, Alabama, and feels that her gifts were given to aid individuals in distress in what should be their safe environments. Now, here is your host of Paranormal Experienced Radio, Kat Hobson.
Good evening. Welcome to Paranormal Experience with Kat Hobson here on the X. I'm so glad you are here. I have someone joining me tonight that I'm very excited about. I'm always impressed by what I see when she posts her different things that she's interested in, the different things that she does. Deedee Jabrail is a dream interpreter, and I think that's so cool. You know, she is literally unwrapping the meanings behind our subconscious. And when you get into all these things, there's a lot involved in that. I have seen books. I have tried to interpret my own. I'm not gifted with that. I think it really is a talent, but that's not the only talent. Deedee is also co-host with my friend Sarah Jane, and they are Paranormally Blonde. I swear to goodness, these women are after my own heart. We have been friends for several years. Gosh, I think back when they were a hot mess. Wasn't Deedee that in 2013? And welcome to my show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I think it was actually 2019.
Okay.
That we started that. Yeah.
Well, I don't know where I went so far back. I still had kids in school back then.
Yeah.
But it's going to be one of those number nights, apparently.
Oh.
But, you know, I have enjoyed you. I talk more with Sarah Jane than I do with you, but I watch you because I think what you do is so fun and so cool.
Oh, thank you.
You know, I'm always glad to be your guest. And this is kind of a neat, flip the script kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Well, out of curiosity, how did you and Sarah Jane connect? How did you start your show working together?
We actually connected through a mutual friend, Courtney, who she's a writer and she does the haunt jaunts. And so she was talking about starting a podcast, and she had talked to each one of us individually. And so the three of us just connected together. Just, it was kind of one of those things where Courtney had done it before. I was on her show. She had a show, Haunt Jaunts, on another station. And we just all connected, and we were, good friends, just having fun. We used to just record the episodes and then put them up on YouTube and on like Spotify. And after about a year or so, Courtney wanted to get back to writing. And so Sarah and I still wanted to do a podcast, because then we had a love for doing it. And she loves lives. And so,
yes, she does.
Yes, she does. And so she talked me into doing lives, and I was really, uncomfortable with it. But I had been friends with her for over a year, and so I was like, okay, let's just do it. And we've been going ever since. And that was, I think that was November of 2020 when we started Paranormally Blonde. So,
boy, it's been a wild ride for you, hasn't it? Because
it has.
Okay, because you are generally more laid back. Sarah Jane, you can just see at a frat party waving a T-shirt over her head going, wow, And not to mention that she is packing the biggest guns east of Michigan, right? So, I mean, she has definitely come into her own. You have definitely come into your own.
Yeah.
And y'all are just living large. I love this.
Yeah, it's fun to start with somebody and see where they go and how you influence each other in positive ways and build each other up. We've really had that in our friendship where we've been able to build each other up and help each other explore what our true gifts are. So it's pretty cool.
And, she and I started going through Reiki classes, Reiki master classes and stuff together and, or signing up for them together. And she is a ball of energy. You are a voice of sanity and energy. It's really kind of a neat thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It creates balance, right?
It does. It's all about balance.
Yep.
But, I will talk to both of y'all at the same time and include everybody's information. And then I am so interested in your dream interpretation. You've got a web page, and how long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been doing dream interpretations for like over 30 years, as I always remembered my dreams even as a child. And so I was very interested in dream analysis, and I got into like handwriting analysis and all the, the different ways of reading people and events. And I did it for friends and family and just different people that I knew. I still do host Haunted Hour. And so people would come on and we talk about dreams there, and it's just chat, and about almost 2 years ago now, I was like, and a lot of people had said to me, oh, you need to get a booth and do dream interpretations. You need to do something with this. And I was kind of like, yeah, maybe, and like 5 years later, I was like, you know what? I really should. And so I went ahead and I started doing a podcast, like a little side podcast from Paranormally Blonde, the Haunted Hour podcast, which kind of incorporated paranormal and the dream interpretations. And I found that people were very interested in talking about dreams. And so people would send in their dreams, and I would go ahead and do an analysis as part of like the show. And so then I got to the point where people were always asking me about dream symbols. And so that's where I started the dream symbol class. And it's just, everybody is so into like the 30 to 60 second little shorts and reels and all that. Like I just don't want to be bothered with long things. And so I thought, well, you know what? I'll do a dream symbol each week. And so it gives people time to digest the dream symbol and kind of think about their dreams, maybe have a dream that has a dream symbol in it. And it was also to help myself, because I'm not a dream dictionary. I can go with intuition and I have an idea of what some things mean. I believe that it's what it means to you mostly. But so it was also to help me. So I felt like it really, it helps everyone, including myself.
Yeah, that's just so different. You and I have talked pre-show about retaining dreams and trusting them and understanding that sometimes it's a little bit more than just a dream. Do you find that people, as a rule, do retain?
I would say probably, I think that people retain dreams more than they think. It's just they don't write them down. If you don't write them down right away, you will forget. Even I forget. Like there are a lot of dreams that stay with me all day long because I'm so involved in it that it means so much more to me. And I've read things about that. Basically, people don't remember their dreams because they're just not that interested in knowing. So you have to have a true desire, a set an intention that you want to remember your dreams, and you have to be committed. If you wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning with a dream, you have to write it down then, because you're going to have a couple of dreams after that and you're not going to remember it for sure. So you always want to get up. And if you're serious about it, you want to get up and write down the different dreams. And that's going to train you to remember, just the act of writing it down. And like, say you have a dream and you're like, well, I feel like I was in a city, but I don't remember anything else about it. So then you write down, I was in a city. You go to bed the next night, you picture that city as you fall asleep and try to re-enter that dream or the dream meaning, because usually it's just a meaning that's trying to get a point across to you.
Like what?
Like what? Well, if you're dreaming, let's say like I started a new dream experiment. And so the very first thing that came up and I just completed another dream study with a group of people. And then so I'm constantly doing these different studies. And so I've completed a study with a group of people and I started one for myself, and it's using a lucid dream spray that I got from That Witch Beauty. And so I wanted to see what will happen if I use the dream spray every night. And so the very first dream and symbol that came to me was that it was telling me that something wasn't going to work about the study. And that was because I was trying to approach it the same way as the last study, but I needed to approach it in a new way. And then it was also telling me that it was saying I need to create a new forest. And that was basically I need to try a new path for it. So it's the same dream, seem like they're two completely different symbols, but they mean the same thing. Try it different.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Yeah. So there's a lot of times when you have a dream, when I go through and I analyze people's dreams, it'll have like very different things going on within the dream. But when you put it all together, it all means the same thing. It's your subconscious is repeating it to you. It's like on repeat, but it's showing you different symbols to make sure that you understand.
That is so fascinating. I mean, it's like reprogramming yourself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We need that. Yeah.
Isn't that the truth? But I mean, seriously, everybody has those moments. But, how did you get involved in the paranormal?
Well, when I was in my 20s, I lived in a house that had paranormal activity. But at the time, even though there was things that were obvious and the other person I lived with, we were like, getting stories from guests and everything, I just did not admit it. And so years later, I had different friends that I would share like privately with different friends, about the paranormal experiences I had because they had some too. And then in like 2015, I got on Twitter and there was a group called Haunted Hour. And so they were all sharing these paranormal stories. And I had never heard people outside of a couple of friends, like every once in a while talking about the paranormal. I had never realized that there was a huge paranormal community and that people were interested in the paranormal. So I was living under a rock, I guess. And so that led to me co-hosting with the Haunted Hour chat. And then that just kind of like threw me into everything. So, I mean, it's only been about 8 years now that I've been involved, but it just kind of like by accident, it came up as a suggestion. So sometimes I say the paranormal, spirit world, all of that, it seeks me out because I'm always doing something else and it pulls me in. So
I could see that.
Yeah.
Well, they know when they want somebody to communicate with.
Yeah.
And they're good at it.
I agree.
Well, are you hitting the road on all these boy versus girl type events and all the fun stuff too?
I was one of the hosts for the girls versus boys.
Mm-hmm.
I did that. Just the traveling, just the money. I don't have.
I understand that.
Money. They're all on the East Coast and I'm on the West Coast. So I've done a couple of events with some people that I've met through the podcast and other ways through the paranormal. And I've done a lot of ghost hunting with Craig Owens. He's a writer. He hosts some really cool events. And so I've done some paranormal investigations with him. And then my husband and I go on our own. We did the March Air Force Base, which is one of my favorites. To have an entire Air Force Base that's a museum now, but it was amazing with all the old planes. And we got some amazing like interaction too. So I just kind of do my own thing, but I would love to go to the East Coast and eventually I will.
Well, there's just so much there, but I actually feel you because I'm in the South. I know that shocks people that hear my voice, right? But there's so much happening all over the place besides here. Because to me, California has a lot of activity, a lot of activities to participate in.
Yeah.
And, not so much here. You have to go out and do your own thing. Like, I am presenting at a Paracon Saturday and Sunday down in Pensacola, but there are so few actual paracons around here. And I did, however, find a group on Facebook called Haunted Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd never seen it before. I was looking and they were talking about all these haunted locations, which I've been to, but it's nice to know that there's somebody else out there that would go with me.
Yeah.
Because David frowns on me going alone. So, I frown on that too. But I'm glad your husband likes to play too, though.
Yeah, he's really good about that. He's made a lot of our equipment. Like he made REM pods for me. He made an XLS camera setup. Like he's into like the technical part of it.
Right.
And he likes like we like to stay at haunted hotels, and like he loved the Air Force Base and stuff like that. So we go to like some interesting locations. So I think he likes it for that. He doesn't like, now that I think about it, he doesn't actually ask questions of the spirits and stuff, which is interesting. I never even thought about that. That
is interesting.
Yeah. So he just kind of goes along and he takes it in his own way,
That's fun. David has participated with me once as far as, because he does know, he doesn't like to acknowledge, but he does know that like there's things here. And, our haunts are familial, it's not people. But, we were buying a piece of equipment, or he was buying for our shop, and we were right near Stone River Battlefield outside of Chattanooga. Mm-hmm. And he was so cute because I'm trying to set up to do an EVP session and getting my recorders at different places since it's just me and I can ascertain which, the whole drill. Yeah. And he looked and he was like, "Do you want me to take that one over here so you're actually triangulated?"
Oh.
And I'm like, "Why, yes, I do."
I love that. Huh.
Well, it was so out of character for him, other than he knows it's something that matters to me, so he was going to help me.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
What a great husband, right?
Yes.
So if we had seen someone, he would have been gone and hoped I caught up with the car. But, but he didn't, and it was his idea to stop there. Yeah. And it's nice when you're supported.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. Well, I love the safety and like bringing my husband with me, because you do go and you're in strange places in the middle of the night and anything can happen. And I like having my own personal bodyguard.
Indeed. Well, David has kind of abdicated that to Rick for the most part.
Yes.
So, it's, well, he is protective.
Yeah.
So, and he knows he has to answer to David, or he thinks he does. So I appreciate that. I really do. By the way, he's in Scotland, right?
Yeah, I saw that. I was happy for him.
For those that don't know, we're talking about Rick McCallum, founder of Hollywood Ghost Hunters and Scottish lover. I don't know why he hasn't moved yet, but there you go. I mean, seriously. Yeah. But, I think that people like him, you went to see him at Comic-Con, didn't you?
I saw him at the OC Paracon.
OC.
Mm-hmm. And we've been planning to do a ghost hunt together, but we're trying to find something. So eventually I'm going to do a investigation with Rick too.
Well, you will love it. I know you know that, but it's, you have a lot of people though in your area that he investigates with. You would probably just really enjoy the community that he is part of.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
What is the most unexpected reaction that you've gotten to investigating?
You mean that a paranormal experience or that
a paranormal experience? We'll get to the human side too.
Oh,
because I know people probably go, "You do that, really?"
Yeah.
So I get that a lot. Yeah.
Well, I think that I've had some really interesting experiences. I don't think I've ever been truly afraid, but I do have a doll that I got from Unsettling Toys. She's
I saw that.
Yeah, Raggedy Ann doll and anime. And she came with the name. And I actually got her because the audience chose her for me, but she's the one I really wanted because the reason the woman got rid of her is because her son was having nightmares with the doll in it. So that made me really curious to see if I would have nightmares with the doll in it. And I actually did.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So and it took a while. I had her for, I want to say a year. And I thought, I'll never have a dream with her. And it was just very random. And I think I had been ignoring her for a while. And so in my dream, I looked in the mirror, but instead of seeing myself, I saw her smiling at me.
Oh my.
And so I was like, okay, anime, I'm going to work with you. And I've been ignoring her lately again, so I need to get on that. But I did I was just kind of fooling around and testing out my equipment because I was going to be on the world's largest ghost hunt last year. And so I was going to do a thing with her. And so I was setting up my equipment. I was just kind of fooling around to see how it might work, and how it looks on screen and stuff. And so I asked a couple of questions and she was lighting up the REM pod, making it make noises it's never made before, popped through the mirror and the SLS. Like I was just like, and that's on the YouTube. I was just like, what is happening? I mean, it was so unexpected and it was really happening and I still can't explain it. And it seemed, she seemed happy. I felt happy. So I don't know, maybe I was supposed to be afraid. A lot of people seem to be afraid of her. I don't know. I think she's really cool.
Well, I have a Raggedy Ann and Andy, and I don't find them frightening at all.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just if you buy into the whole Annabelle experience, and which is one of the reasons I don't watch horror movies.
Yeah.
I've never seen any of Rick's. I have seen Naked Gun 33 and a half or whatever it was. I've seen that one, but I don't watch horror movies because
I've seen some, yeah.
You're braver than I am.
Yeah.
But my thing is that, I am so intuitive that it really wigs me out. And because I do think people who have been treated violently react to them differently than people who have not.
I agree. Yeah.
And so it's not that that I think the dolls are going to come to life and kill me. Yeah. Right. It's just that anything that's out of the ordinary would not be a good experience when it comes to danger. But it's just so interesting to watch different people react because I was at an event in Kentucky and these guys had an Annabelle with the Annabelle house. And it was obviously fake. It was like a joke. And they were wrapping this doll up so you wouldn't touch it. And I'm just like, why are you wrapping it up? Why can't you touch Annabelle?
Right.
Like the real Annabelle. Why can't you? Because I didn't know. But I think I might deal with the real one, but I don't want, mine are active, but they don't freak me out at all because they're mine, I guess.
Yeah. And I think I guess it depends on what's going on. We, at one time, when I first started getting involved in the paranormal, my husband and I were watching TV. We were sitting in the living room and my living room's like a rectangle. And so the TV was across from us, and on a wall leading to the kitchen, I had a clock. And it's the kind where it has like a circle and you put it through the screw and then pull it down and it's like on there. You know what I mean? Because it gets skinnier. Yeah. And so we're just sitting there watching TV and the clock flew off the wall across the room at the entertainment center. And my husband jumped up in the air and like spun around and said, "Did you see that?" And I'm like, "Oh my God. Yeah." And so he literally spent like half the night putting it on the wall, hitting the wall, trying to make it fall down again. And he could not recreate it. The screw was still on the wall.
Oh, the screw was still out.
Yep.
Wow.
The screw was still on the wall.
So somebody actually knocked it up and over.
Yes.
Wow.
So, I mean, we've had a few things like that, and it's just every once in a while. But I wouldn't say he was scared. I think he was just like
Shocked, probably.
Yeah. And I'm always the type of person where something like that's going on. I always sit there for a minute and like kind of like what disbelief, I guess. Like I'm surprised and I don't have a reaction. So maybe we're boring to spirits. I don't know.
Maybe they're trying to get a rise out of you.
Yeah. They're like, wow, that was a waste of time.
Well, no, because he did get up.
Yeah, he did. He spun around.
So they got attention. I think most of the time that's what it is anyway, is they're just, attention seeking.
Yeah, sure.
So I know I'm pretty sure that's what it is here. And we have one dog that just goes into a frozen moment and looks at the ceiling like, oh my God. But he's a mini Aussie, so he's crazy. So that's normal. And, it's just so unusual and odd to sit there. My husband used to be worried about that. And I said, David, we have family here anyway, because my basement, both sides, garage and basement, have his mother's stuff, some of my grandmother's stuff, now my mom's stuff and my dad's stuff. And it's just like, oh my God, when I brought my grandmother's quilts here and some other things, I was doing a show and outside of my office was a foosball table. Well, the exercise ball bounced off of the foosball table.
Wow.
And just rolled around on the floor.
Yeah.
And it was obviously being moved. I mean, it wasn't just random rolling. It was,
right,
changing directions and all this stuff. Wow. And I, when it came to a break and I muted my mic, I said, I am on the air. You cannot do that. Stop. Well, it stopped.
Wow.
And I'll never forget, I was interviewing a psychic named Andrew Brewer, who was just brilliant. He was like top psychic of the year somewhere. But, and a really great guy. But it was so funny because he was like, you didn't have to mute. I was like, well, anybody else would have freaked out if I started saying these things. But
yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if something about him like pulled that energy out because he was a psychic,
Well, it could be. But, I've also had somebody walk up the stairs from the basement, come into the door, and all the dogs looked at the door and then their heads turned in unison to look at me. And
they're like,
I was home alone. And I was just like, you know what? If somebody opens that door, eat them. They're yours. And if they don't, we'll just worry about that later.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
But there was no one there. They didn't open the door. They didn't go back down. So when I got through with whatever I was doing, I went over and opened the door and said, look, we're all family here. If it's on this side, this is Nell. If it's on this side, it's Obie. And your family. Mix and mingle. And that hasn't happened since. But it really did sound exactly like someone had come in the garage side door and came up the stairs. Like I couldn't get past the door to get to a firearm. So I had a knife.
God.
It was that real.
Yeah, no, that would be my first thought too. Somebody's in the house.
Yeah. And, I keep jingle bells on that door. The great big balls, right?
Yeah.
And I heard them go up. They clanged, and then they started coming up the stairs. I was like, oh, no. So even family paranormal can scare you, right?
Sure. Yeah. Well, and sometimes I feel like I had a series of dreams, and it was, at the time I thought it was a doll that I was dreaming about. And then later I changed my mind, but it was an entity that seemed like a little girl, had long dark hair, and it was every single dream was scary, and it was really bothering me. And so the last time I dreamt about her, she was standing in the backyard and she was demanding to come in the house. And in my dream, I refused to let her in. And the next day my dog died. And so I struggled for a long time as I was like, because the dog was healthy. There was, we thought there was nothing wrong with the dog. She had just had like her teeth.
Your dog
cleaned.
literally died?
Literally died. Yes.
Oh my God.
And so she had just had her teeth cleaned. So she had already had all the blood tests and everything to do the anesthesia and everything when they clean their teeth. And so she had like a clean bill of health. She was 9. And so I really struggled because I thought, I've done something to bring a bad spirit to the home and the dog died, or as my husband would think is a coincidence. But I thought, what if that dog was that spirit was either my dog's subconscious warning me that there was something wrong coming to me, or because she was like our little girl, right? Or was it an entity that knew there was something wrong with the dog and trying to let me know that there was something wrong with the dog? Like I misread it. I believe there was a warning there for me about the dog and I didn't realize it. So that was kind of, sadly educational for me to learn that the dreams and the paranormal and all that could literally like possibly save a life, Well,
I think they do. And I'm so sorry about your dog.
Thank you.
But yeah, I'm a dog girl, and it's just tough. I mean, that is awful.
Yeah, their lives are so much shorter than ours.
I know, and I just think that's wrong.
Yeah, me too.
So, I have one who is on the cusp right now, and it's just like, she's my bestie, so it's kind of a yuck.
Yeah, it's hard.
And I lost one earlier this year. So, but they're your kids.
Yeah.
And truly. But have you had anything else that was so clear like that? I mean, I know in hindsight it's clear. Yes. Like a warning dream.
Well, it wasn't a warning dream, but it was an experience when I was 18. And this is the story that always pulls me back anytime I feel doubt. Is I was 18, I was driving on the freeway. I had a 66 Plymouth. And so it was no air conditioning, roll down windows, And so I'm driving on the freeway, everything's like normal and chill. And I heard like a voice within myself, I guess, say, roll up your window. And it was like 100 degrees outside. And there was no reason for me to have that thought. And so I was kind of like, I don't know what the hell's wrong with me, but I'm not rolling up my window because it's hot. I'm already sweating. And so I went for a few more minutes, probably less than 5, but, close to 5 minutes. And the freeway goes from one freeway onto the next. And all of a sudden, the voice came at me like a roar, and it was like, roll up your window. And my arm just started rolling up the window. Like I didn't decide to roll up the window. Right. I was rolling up the window, and I still get chills. This has been so many years. And so right as I completely rolled up the window, it went up. The truck in front of me and a car hooked together. He had one of those old bumpers, and his bumper clipped into the wheel well of the car. And all of a sudden, then you go deaf when you're seeing a car accident. And then it's like, I just saw the smoke. I saw the tires. Everything's in slow motion. And then all of a sudden, poof, they hit the wall, and all the glass from the crash hit that window I just rolled up. I mean, hailstorm of glass. And so,
holy cats.
Right?
Wow.
So I always, from that moment on, well, I say always, usually not when it came to some men, but I usually listen to my intuition, especially now I do. If something tells me, I just, doesn't matter, turn that way, pull over, whatever it is, I just listen because I just don't know,
Well, you don't. And that would definitely be an object lesson. That's huge.
Yeah. It was incredible. And I feel very grateful to whoever that was. Guardian angel, I don't know how I could know, so I'm going to have to say a guardian angel. So,
well, I think that is just amazing. I had a similar experience driving down to Orlando a few years ago, and it wasn't necessarily the loud voice, but for whatever reason, I had to get off the interstate. Mm-hmm. And I had been riding in the how you like ride in a group of cars. It's just kind of like
a little pack of cars.
It is, yeah. And so I got off the interstate and I thought, it was a piece of tire stuff, and it hit the hood of my bug. So I'm like, and pulled over, and I was so mad because, this had happened. I called David, I called my insurance people, went on down to Orlando. As I'm getting back on the interstate, there's traffic. And I'm like, I've lost my pack. I'm going to be stuck here forever. Well, the truck that had been running beside me had hit the wall. And the car that had been behind me that was in my place was the one that got smashed against the wall and caught fire. Which caught the truck on fire. And I would have been, seriously, I would have been a pancake and dead and then crispy. It was yeah. And so I wasn't told to get off. I had to get off.
Right. You were, you knew.
It was like there wasn't time to have a conversation, get her off. And that is so weird that you said that, because I was blown away, totally blown away, because when I got up to that accident and I saw the side of the truck that wasn't burned, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Where's that car? And then I looked and the car was, charcoal under the side of it.
Ugh.
But I don't know. It was just the weirdest thing. But you do sometimes.
I think it's all connected. That intuition that we have when we're awake and we get messages like that, I think that we also get them in our sleep.
Well, how do you, because you and I talked, I have always had deja vu. It relates to dreams as well. And since I was injured a few years ago, I don't retain my dreams as much. I don't know if it was because I was medicated for so long or what has affected that. But I was going to ask you while we're here, after this, if you could help understand how to maybe build that back up.
Sure.
But you have so many different ideas. How many people come to you a week?
I'd say probably only like maybe 20.
Only 20.
Yeah.
That's pretty astounding, Deedee. That's more than kinda. That's way astounding.
Yeah. Well, everybody has dream. Well, most people don't, I guess, remember them, but we all dream, whether we know it or not. We are still dreaming.
Okay.
And things are crazy right now, too, with everything that's been going on. Like since 9/11, I feel like things have just been off kilter. And so I feel like people who don't address it during the day in their waking life, it's going to come to them in their sleep. And if you really put things off, it will come as nightmares. And most people come to me with nightmares or something about love.
Well, the extremes.
Right.
Those are extreme emotions. So,
yeah.
Well, are you a love goddess?
Am I a love goddess? What would define a love goddess?
Do you interpret, are they coming to you about love dreams, or are you a good relationship counselor?
Well, I'm realistic.
Right.
So people will come to me for advice through dreams about love. But a lot of times that, people will have a dream and they'll think, oh, I'm going to get back together with this person or whatever it is. And it's like, well, that's not necessarily what the dream is saying to you. And I think sometimes psychics lead people on. I know somebody who's been led on by a psychic, and it's like, they were working against me. And it's like, the dreams I'm interpreting aren't saying this, but the psychic was saying that it was. And it's like, so I have to be careful because I don't want to tell people what to do, but I will tell them what their dream is what I believe their dream is telling them. Ultimately, they're your dreams and you know best. But if you're coming to another person, that means you're just not sure, right?
Right. Need validation.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I think it's helpful to not leave yourself stuck thinking that somebody maybe is into you more than you are into them and things like that. Like you've got to look, that's fine that you had the dream, but you got to look at everything that's going on in the waking world as well. And does it fit together? Right. And that's what I tell people, especially during my dream study. I told them, when you have a dream, because we were trying to connect with spirits and each other, you've got to see not only what's in your dreams, but what's happening when you're awake. What are the synchronicities? What's going on that, that makes it seem like it is? Because if something's true, you're going to have it in your dreams and in your waking life. They're going to validate each other. And if they're not, then something's off, and you got to figure out maybe what's off.
How hard is that to do for yourself? To hang, yeah.
Well, I guess I've gotten good at understanding because I always want to see everything as like happy and fun. And so I always try to turn everything into something, magical and fun. But I've gotten better in the last, 5 years of being like, no, this is what this actually means. Most of my dreams come out that, and no matter what's going on, it's reminding me not to be negative. And I had done a study on myself and I wanted to be more organized. And so I noticed now that a lot of my dreams are reminding me when I get off like unorganized, it brings me back. Oh, remember? And then during the day, I'll always see numbers like 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, like things that are in order. And it's the reminder, you got to be orderly. You got to stay focused.
Oh, that is so brilliant. I would not have made that connotation because I'm a slob.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a slob. I have ADHD and I will start on something and then it's squirrel and I'll go do something else. So none of my projects, housework-wise, get finished.
But you can actually set a dream intention to help you work on that. And that's what I did with the study for myself, is that I wanted to be able to focus. And it's actually helped me. I did 20 days. I set an intention on focusing on one path because I'm a Gemini. So I'm all over the place too. I'm like, doing this podcast and that podcast. And then I'm doing a Poshmark, selling stuff online. And then I'm like then I joined another one. And I'm like, I am all over the place. I can't give anything 100% because I'm spending so much time doing everything. And so I set the intention to be organized, to be focused, because I'm not getting any younger. I need to get it together. And so it literally taught me to be focused. And I without even thinking, I'm making decisions now that are good decisions, which blows my mind because now it's almost like my subconscious is working behind the scenes, pushing me to do things. And I'm not even having to think about it. It's just like, it'll come to me and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And I do it. So it's almost like I have an assistant now.
Well, you know what? That's a whole different version of AI.
Right? And yeah, it's coming from within. So it has AI doesn't really truly care about us, but our own subconscious wants to survive just as much as we do. So if anybody's going to be honest with you, it's going to be yourself, right?
Absolutely. One would hope.
Yeah.
Unless you have one of those moments,
Right.
But, I have always heard of setting intentions. I didn't know that you could set a dream intention.
Oh, yeah. Like if you want to say you want to focus on something. And in the study I just did, and I put that up on my YouTube channel as well, I had 8 people and they were each focusing on something different, but it was mainly to contact either something about their past life. They were trying to contact each other in dreams, like have a mutual dream, and they were trying to contact spirits, paranormal. And so what I did is when I was creating the dream study, I had a dream about a white inn, and I knew that is where I need to have everybody start. So I had everybody each night, they would start off and they would picture an 1800s white inn, whatever it is, because I also wanted to see if anybody could see what I saw.
Right.
And so, because I didn't tell them what it looked like. And so each person would start at the white inn, and then they would, and it's funny because people in their dreams, they would either like walk through a doorway from the inn or go outside of the inn. And then they would start to interact with the spirits that they were trying to contact. So it was a starting point for them. And so I think it's good to have a starting point, whether you create it yourself or someone else were to create it for you, and you start there every night. So, and create someplace beautiful, that you want to be, like a beach or whatever, like just has your heart. And you want to start there. You're visualizing it as you're falling asleep. And all the people, I believe all of them, most of them did actually picture the white inn, and 2 people actually like knew where the bed was and knew where the window was.
Really?
Yeah. So, and then one gal, I didn't tell anybody, and it had in my dream, it had a dirt road, and it may have been paved, but in my dream it was dirt. And she actually saw the dirt road when she looked out the window as well. And I was like, that is so cool, because I had that dream like a week before they did, and they still were able to tap into that from somewhere.
That's astounding.
Right?
Well, I mean, did you just have them, create the intention of following your dream? Or
so what they were supposed to do is they were supposed to know what they wanted, to who they wanted to contact. So say they wanted to contact a spirit, their father who had passed away. So they set that intention. So they knew, they wrote it out in their journal, because they were required to write out their dreams and their intentions and any synchronicities they had during the day. And they did it for 7 days. And each day they would send me the dream. So it kept them consistent, because they knew they had to send me the dream. So they had to remember to write it down and be focused. And so after they would set their intention, you have to, like, half an hour before bed, no TV, no cell phones, nothing electronic. You're just focusing on your intention. Maybe you're talking to the spirit or whatever you want. And as they're falling asleep, I wanted them to start at that white inn. And it seemed to really work for them to enter into their dream world. Like I said, most of them, if not all of them, were dreaming of the white inn. So, and then it led them to another place, though.
See, that is so neat. I don't understand how our psyche works to be able to create that. But isn't that so cool?
It is. It's wonderful. And I mean, it's free. Like people, I mean, this is something that anybody can do. If you sleep, which you must, you can do it, And I mean, as far as not being able to remember your dreams and what you were saying, it's an exercise. You're using a muscle. Some people, it's more natural. Like some people are just, stronger than others, but anyone can be strong by working out, right? And doing it right. And so you have to do something that makes it fun to you. Cause like exercise, none of us, well, some people probably like exercise. Most people don't, unless it's something you really like hiking or swimming. If it's an activity you love, then all of a sudden it's great and it's not exercise anymore. It's the same thing with dreams. It's like once you start to love the idea of getting information, messages, from maybe beyond or from yourself, and being better at something because you're focusing within your mind to learn, you start to develop a love and a passion for it. And that will make it much easier that if you really desire answers and that you're consistent, like the dream study I did on myself, it was 20 days. And I was already trained to remember, but what I didn't realize is when I did that and I was so hardcore focused on it, is that I've had dreams where people would talk to me and I would never remember what they said. It was very rare that I would remember what they said. I could remember everything else about the dream, but not the information that they said, which for me was the most important part. During my own dream study, I started to remember what people said to me. And
oh, wow.
It was fascinating to get, that was something new for me. So even though I thought, oh yeah, I remember my dreams, I didn't really when I thought about it and went back. So it's always like you're building that muscle. And so now I'm much better. The other night I had a dream and I can't remember what was said to me and I'm really sad.
Oh,
so now I'm going to set an intention to go back and try to find out.
Well, that's just fascinating that that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Does that work for everyone that you coach?
Yeah, actually. And what I tell people, if you're really stuck on not being able to remember dreams, what you need to do is you need to go back to a dream you do remember, no matter how long ago it was. Write out that dream, visualize it while you're awake. Remember, like, say you were in a shopping mall, remember walking through the mall, remember what color the floor was, what did you see? Like, you remember any extra details, because little details will start to come back to you because it's in your memory. And then write out all those little details that you remember by revisiting the dream as while you're awake. And then the next day, do the same thing. Take another dream that you remember and do the same thing. And you're starting to build that muscle just by reviewing old dreams. And then take the time to kind of look up some of the symbols and remember, I had that dream, right before I went on a cruise, and it was about being on a cruise. Like, you know what I mean? You'll start to like put the things together. And when you do that, it's like building a puzzle, right? You start in one section, there's like 1,000 pieces, and you're like, this is a disaster. It's never going to happen. Who can help me? You can tell
I'm always like that with a puzzle of more than 10 pieces.
Like and my son loves them, and I help him. But you start off, and it just doesn't seem like it's very much. It doesn't look like anything. But the more pieces you start putting into that puzzle, all of a sudden you start to see the picture, and then it becomes easier as you're finishing it, right? And you get that last piece. It's so satisfying because it just became easier and easier as you went along.
Well, that sounds ridiculously simple. I mean, really, it's a formula. It's formulaic. That's really interesting to me. My gosh. Well, do you mind in the second hour if we talk about some of the symbolism?
Sure.
Because this is something that I don't get a chance to talk to people about, and it fascinates me.
Yeah.
Because you're the only person I know that does that. I'm sure there's probably others. And, before my accident, I always knew what my dreams were, and I knew what they were about. And the only ones I remember now are nightmares, and they're old nightmares. So it's very strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want those. They're scary.
Yeah. But sometimes they're not as scary as you think when you learn what they mean.
Well,
depends.
I have not worn fluorescent orange since I was 15 because of a dream when I was wearing fluorescent orange.
Oh.
So, and I look good in orange. So, and I just it's really funny how that, and it is funny because it's like your subconscious locks, know, and it's just like, nope. Even shoes. Hoka sent me a pair of shoes that had an orange strap on the bottom. I sent them back. I just couldn't do it.
Oh, wow.
I mean, because my dreams came true that well. I would dream reality.
Yeah. And that's just it. You got to know, is it one of those dreams, or is it just, does it mean something else? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they were right enough that I wasn't taking a chance.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
So, yeah. And I really, otherwise they were great shoes and the orange looked good. So it was something else. So, and when we come back, we are going to have questions. And we have a question that's coming through, but we're going to go ahead and take our break. We are so glad that we have Deedee Jabrail, and we are fortunate because I'm going to tell you, not only is she a dream interpreter, but she is a wonderful human. And I am so glad that you're here, Deedee.
You. I'm glad to be here.
So everyone listening, we're going to take this break. Y'all come back. Join us right back here on the X.
the X value your opinion, and we're asking for your vote for the People's Choice Awards for the best in-house show and the best syndicated program on the UNX network. Now, if you're an UNX supporter and an UNX listener and you have a favorite show you want to vote for, just go to unxnetwork.com and cast your vote on the show page. Winners will be announced at this year's 2023 UNXCon on Halloween, October the 31st. It's going to be a big party, and we really hope to see you there. Get your tickets now while you still can for the biggest Halloween party in the paranormal, the XCon 2023 in Springfield, Missouri, and run over to unxnetwork.com right now and cast your vote for your favorite show on the X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UNX Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling on it.
The dad joke. Corny, groan-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
What did the buffalo say when he dropped his son off for school? Bye, son.
So take a moment to make your kid laugh, because dad jokes rule. Make your kid laugh today. Go to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
This is Margie Kay, inviting you to listen to my UNX News podcast or watch the show on YouTube or Rumble every Friday at 7 Eastern, 6 Central Time, when I discuss the news of the week and I interview top researchers, filmmakers, authors, and investigators. Mark your calendar for the UNX News Show, Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time at unxnetwork.com.
Hello everyone, Race Hobbs here from the UNX Network. As many of our community out here know by now, and even some of you that have not heard the news, our friend, investigative journalist and famed UFO researcher Lee Spiegel passed away on August 14th. And those of us close to him are planning a final salute to our good friend and colleague. We are sending his cremated ashes into space. You know, Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry, noted astronomer Clyde Tombaugh, American film director and innovative visual effects supervisor of such films as 2001: A Space Odyssey and Close Encounters of a Third Kind, Doug Trumbull are among several notables who have been memorialized with a space burial. We have plans to do the same for Lee, and we're asking for your help. We have set up a GoFundMe to raise the additional funds, and we are almost there. We just passed the halfway mark, so if you would like to help, go to unxnetwork.com and click on the Lee Spiegel GoFundMe banner, and it'll take you right to his GoFundMe page. unxnetwork.com. Whatever you could spare would be greatly appreciated by his loved ones, colleagues, and friends for this final mission for our good friend, Lee Spiegel.
Real alternative talk. The X.
Hello there. Welcome back for the second hour of Paranormal Experience with Kat Hobson. I'm so glad that you are here because I have my friend Deedee Jabrail She is a dream interpreter. She's a talk show host. She is a makeup artist. She is a Poshmark person. She's pretty much everything, and she is amazing. So, Deedee, thank you so much for being here. I had the best time in that first hour.
Me too. It was great. It was interesting.
Well, and it went fast.
Yeah.
So, I am going to start doing the dream journals and working on that, because back in the day when I was trying to figure out who my my spirit person was, my guide, I was told, well, before you go to sleep, as you're falling asleep, just ask to be told, as you're awakening, that make sure you're conscious, coming back. And I did that, and I got a name that was so unusual, I could not even find it, like it wasn't even a word.
Oh, wow. I love that. Huh.
So I was just like, we're going to do this again, Yeah. And every time I did it 3 times, and it was the same word.
Huh.
And I thought, I am just misunderstanding this. So it was very similar to an Indian tribe name up north. And I thought, well, no, that's not the exact word. And the enunciation, the second and third times, was perfect. Okay. You're going to get this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it comes out that I had mentioned it to someone. The word was Algonquin. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a park in Brussels named Algonquin.
Huh.
Algonquin. And I thought, get out, because my dad would go to Brussels all the time. Well, my dad's best friend was from Brussels, and when they would go to France and Europe with their spouses, they would, go places. And it's really an odd thing, because that happened to the point of the enunciation being just staccato. You're going to get this,
Right.
I'm not stuttering here. Kind of thing. And I had told you when we were during the break that we have a comment and a question from someone who happens to be my 4th cousin on my grandmother's side. And she found me. It's very interesting. She lives in Alabama. And she says that she and her grandmother would dream the same dream if they were together, but the grandmother would dream the beginning and she would dream the end, or vice versa. They would, they would just finish. Is that normal?
It can happen. They're not the only people I've heard of. And probably what was happening is that they were having the same experience at the same time, but that's the parts that they remember. That was the part that they needed to share.
Mm-hmm.
But I have heard of that before. I had a mutual dream a couple of times with my husband and my parents. My mom sent me a dream one time, and she sent me hers and my dad's. And I was shocked because they're not into the paranormal at all, or dream they don't care about any of that stuff. And they had the same dream, and it was really weird. And it happened with my husband and I. It wasn't like a long, detailed dream, but I had dreamed that I was smoking, and I don't smoke. I used to, like 20 years ago, I used to. And so in my dream, I was smoking, and I was really happy about it. And so I woke up, and I always share my dreams with my husband. We talk about dreams. And he said, that's weird, because last night I dreamed you were smoking too. And it's like, it was just like a little hint of a mutual dream.
Yeah.
But, I'd be curious to know what their dream, was it just the one time? And was there something in particular about that dream that had meaning for them? Because it sounds like if it was just the one time, that there was some special meaning to that dream for them.
Well, it reads like it's not an unusual thing.
Oh,
so,
that's really interesting.
And also because she and I have very similar gifts, and it's really funny because we are fairly far removed and we've never met.
Yeah.
So, and we don't look dissimilar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really funny. But she just said, I have prophetic dreams, and it is a family trait.
Okay.
I mean, and I have them too, which is why no orange. Because I felt like that was a prophetic dream. And there is not a stick of orange in any of my wardrobe.
Now I'll be curious to know what that was about.
Well, I mean, I was on a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
I love roller coasters. And actually, I was on the Six Flags Over Georgia roller coaster. And I had on a cute little orange outfit, shorts and a tank.
Mm-hmm.
And something happened on that ride and I was hemorrhaging and they got me to the hospital, and it was Grady Hospital in Atlanta. Best emergency care on the planet if you need it. And I bled out.
Wow.
And every bit of it was complete clarity. And when I woke up, I was like, what the heck was that?
Yeah.
This is crazy. And so I had it again sometime later, which just completely reinforced that. And so I have tried to wear orange because I really like the color and I like it on me, but I just cannot.
So how do you feel about roller coasters then?
Ride them every day. I would in a heartbeat. And I had a car accident and I don't go backwards real well.
Mm-hmm.
I can go upside down, inside out, twist and turn and whatever, but I don't go backwards well.
Yeah.
And so that's the only part that bothers me. But when I was in that trip to Orlando that I was talking about where my car got hit, that one of my friends worked at Universal Studios, so she gave me a pass. I rode roller coasters until they were closing them down. I could not do the Harry Potter flying thing.
Oh yeah,
because it went backwards.
Yeah,
parts of it went backwards. And I was like, oh no, I have to do Harry Potter. So I tried it. It was not, real sexy. And that's okay. But it was so, I just love stuff like that. But the roller coaster wasn't the problem. For whatever reason, the orange was the problem.
Yeah. So maybe the warning was a little different than maybe a roller coaster itself.
Yeah. What would that be? I mean, it's clothing.
Well, clothing, it can represent like our outlook on how we think we look publicly. So like not necessarily our aesthetic look, but like how we think people perceive us. It's or how we perceive we're looking to others. So orange is usually like an energetic and creative color. So I don't know. You'd have to think back to the time, does that mean anything? Roller coasters can be like the ups and downs of life. So it would be.
Well, I was having a lot of ups and downs at that point.
Okay. And then for you, like, okay. And then it went really bad, So, I mean, it could have just been about that. But the fact that you had the dream twice and was anything different in your time, during that time when you had the dream again, or would it still fit? I would look at that too.
Interesting. I don't think much had changed between the two.
Okay.
Maybe I was being told that it should.
Yeah.
Because shortly after the second time, I changed my life.
Okay.
My living arrangements.
See?
So.
Yeah. So it was literally like whatever the situation was killing you.
It would have.
Yeah.
Didn't think of that.
Yeah.
But, that really is interesting because there was a person that was stalking. And I wonder if I had seen them with orange on or something.
Maybe.
Because that would have retained. I'm a color person.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. That's just interesting because there was danger.
Yeah.
And there was, potential, death.
Yeah.
So, because it was really bad. That was a huge whack job.
Yeah.
And
that's terrifying.
well, they came in my house and while we were asleep.
Oh.
And people that have the balls to do that.
Yeah.
Don't need to keep them.
No.
And I just changed locales. But and it was a great thing ultimately.
Yes.
So I don't rue that decision, but I do wish I could wear orange. Still not
maybe
gonna.
you can.
still not gonna. Kina also wants to understand your take on astral projection, since you are working with dreams. Are they correlated?
Well, I think that it's possible. Like, think back to any time you've ever had a dream and you're an observer in your dream. Like, you're not really you, you're observing other people do things and it just feels different. And I feel like that is a form of astral projection. Unfortunately, you don't really know probably where you're going and what's going on. It depends on the dreamer. But I think that could be a form of it. And I've also discussed the fact that with the shadow people, that I think that those could be people who are astral projecting. I one time woke up in the middle of the night, and when I like kind of looked back, because I like just felt like I was compelled to look back, and I saw what looked like an old man standing in my living room, but he wasn't facing me. And for some reason in my mind, I decided that that was somebody who was astral projecting. Now, was I dreaming? There's a time like between when you're asleep and you wake up, that if you don't wake up correctly in the right formula, that you will actually still be dreaming even though you're conscious, like it's combining. And so you will hallucinate and see things. So it could have just been something like that. But I think that dreaming, in a sense, that we are leaving, our conscious is leaving and going someplace else. Like, just think about when somebody's asleep and you look at them, they're gone, right?
Yes.
You could like talk to them, poke at them, and they just seem so gone. So whether they're truly leaving their body, going to another dimension, or whatever's happening, they're not there. And they have to be pulled back. So I think we do go somewhere. I mean, it really feels like it to me.
Well, I know that, especially if I'm sleeping soundly, I feel like I'm having to pull back to come back.
Yeah.
And, when you look at dogs sleeping, they're gone. They're out.
Yeah.
Of course, if they're very nervous, honestly, they're like, if there's a shoe drop.
Yeah.
So, not so much me.
Yeah.
But this is so interesting. Have you heard of anyone who had difficulty returning from a journey?
I don't recall anybody telling me that, but I think sometimes, especially like if you take like a sleeping aid or something, I feel like it is harder to return. I've had times where I just can't quite wake up. I don't know, if it's just the transition. And then that goes to the same thing. If our conscious is going someplace else, maybe not physically, but like I was just watching Mike Rixiger, and he was talking about like our body's in the third dimension and our consciousness is in the fourth dimension. So is dreaming like in another dimension beyond that? Like, we really don't know. And so sometimes when you can't quite wake up, is it because you're traveling from so far? And it's usually like it's because an alarm goes off or something and it like rips you back really quickly. And I feel like that's when it's harder for you to adjust that transition from returning from wherever you're at.
That's interesting.
And alarms are also a culprit for people not remembering their dreams. That's one of the things they say is that if you can, like maybe during the week you can't, but on the weekend, if you can avoid having an alarm go off, you have a better chance of remembering your dream. Because when you get ripped out of your dream like that, you're less likely to remember it.
That's logical because generally I don't use an alarm. I don't usually need one. But I also have Kylie, who is, her days and nights are mixed up. Kylie, for those that don't know, is my wonderful Labrador who is very old. But she, my wake-up call is a Labrador bark by the bed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, hello.
Yeah.
So I do not often just get to rouse myself.
Right.
And
there's a whole process that you have to go through to kind of transition. Yeah.
And I think that not being able to do that is starting to be a little difficult.
Yeah.
It does have an effect on you.
Definitely.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. It's interesting. There's so much to it.
Yes. And I don't understand, too. It's just very, it's like your body has phases, your brain has phases, and your subconscious has all the phases.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
What is the most, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but what is the most bizarre dream that you have interpreted for someone?
The most bizarre dream I've interpreted for somebody. But I'm trying to think if anybody's sent me anything that's been really amazing. I won't say it's bizarre, but I had somebody who sent me a dream, and it was about their parents, and it's on my blog. The whole thing's on my blog. Mm-hmm. But she had a dream that her father and mother were there. She was a child, and her sister was a child again, and she's an adult. And I have a feeling maybe her parents have already passed away. And the father had the mother bound and gagged. And that was like not a normal dynamic in her childhood, right? So it was very like unsettling to her. And it was a repetitive dream, and it just kept like building upon itself. And so that's why she finally was like, I need an interpretation for this. And so, and I can't remember the entire dream, but it was really scary and horrible and disturbing. And so it came out that something during that time in her life was binding her and stopping her from being able to move on to whatever she was trying to do. And when I told her that, and she thought about it, she was able to make the connection, and it totally blew her mind and helped her. And that was like the really short version. But like I said, it's on my blog. I can send you a link if anybody's interested in reading the whole thing. It was really fascinating. So I know it was kind of bizarre thinking that, since that wasn't a family dynamic too. And it's kind of hard when you have a dream like that to send it to somebody, because it seems so, I've had people say I had a really bad dream, but it's so bad I can't send it to you, Right. So it's hard, but, because it does feel real. And I feel like whether we're going someplace or not, our mind is having this experience. So if you have the experience that, you're burying dead bodies, you have all those emotions, you have all those fears, everything that's, raising your heartbeat and causing your breathing and you're experiencing it. And so you can wake up and say, okay, it was just a dream, and get past it. Usually, there's dreams that stay with us forever. And we're just like, I hated that, and it won't go away, Yes. But I don't know where I was going with that.
Well, probably just trying to comprehend why some things are scary out of context, don't have anything to do with anything that you would expect, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think what it is too is that our subconscious, when it's giving us symbols, it doesn't have all these emotions. Have you noticed a lot of times in dreams, something can be going on that you should be a little more emotional about, but you're not. You're just kind of it's solving emotions that you have and putting it into little boxes. So it's to dream that her mother was bound. It was just a symbol. Like for her as the character in the dream, it was terrifying and she was hiding behind the couch, but it was really just telling her she was her mom. She was the one that was bound by something. And so that's why she was so afraid, because she was hiding behind the couch. As a child, she was tapping into her old emotions and viewpoints she had as a child. Whatever the situation that was binding her was regressing her back to being that fearful child. And so once she got that revelation, she was like, nope, I'm not this fearful child. I'm an adult and I'm going to address whatever this is, you know?
Right. Well, it's really funny how when it is something frightening, it's almost like you are in, well, like in my instance, you're in such a vulnerable state in the dream.
Yeah.
And I actually hate that. I hate vulnerability.
Yeah.
Everybody has it, but nobody's comfortable living in it, right?
Right.
But yet a lot of times we are so vulnerable in those dreams. It seems like we would be like, da-da-da-da, super cat, off to save the real cat. We're doing this now, but it's not very often that way, is it?
No, but the more you get into it, the more, like, I've had dreams. I had a dream once there was a bunch of demons around me and they were doing like they had like the pentagram on the ground and they were doing weird stuff that was scary. And when I woke up, I was like, wow, that was so interesting, and I went right to like trying to figure out what was the message in the dream. And so I think you get to a point where you really are rescuing yourself. You really are. You're being like your subconscious. The more you work with yourself, the more information you will get. And it does become a superpower, and it releases you from so much stuff that burdens us and weighs us down, that you can just be like, okay, I'm going to release this and I'm going to release that. I understand why I think this way. And like, there was even during my study, I always thought I was a fearful person. It turned out through doing this, I learned I'm angry and it's masking itself as fear. And so when you know what's actually wrong, it's easier to fix, because our whole life is about like, repairing and trying to build new things, So I do think that you can be super cat, Well,
a lot of times I am now.
Yeah.
I learned to embrace and develop that.
Yeah.
So still not always, I am pretty brave. I'm not going to say that. I am pretty brave. I just never perceived myself that way until I come through something. And then it's like, I think a lot of people are like this. You're so busy surviving.
Right.
That you don't realize what a mighty warrior you're being.
Yeah.
To get through that. And I've seen so many people go through that and then put themselves down. Yeah. And it's like, no, do you realize what you just did? You're awesome. You're powerful. You're such a powerful person.
I think what happens to people is that they get upset with themselves for choices they've made or mistakes, and they blame themselves. And when you learn to forgive yourself for things, that's very freeing.
Absolutely. It absolutely is. And, it's, you have people that will put expectations on you too.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's very important, I think, to recognize that those are not your expectations and that it's okay to take your time to evolve through whatever you're going through.
Yes.
Have you ever had somebody just say, oh, you're just so strong. I admire that so much. And you're like, no, I'm really not. Could use a little help today.
Yeah, but definitely.
I actually told my dad one time, I was like, I am so tired of you telling me how strong I am. Give me a little help.
Yeah.
Ask me if I need some support, because people don't like to be carrying all these things around all the time. And I would really appreciate it if you would direct it more towards positive discussion as opposed to, look how tough you are,
Exactly.
Tired of being strong here.
Yeah. Instead of saying you're so brave, it would be like, you're working really hard to get through this. Is there anything that I can do to help you? Stuff like that. Yeah. Because people just see it from the outside. They're like, they're fine because they're doing it. And I had a friend, my son has autism, and she said to me, I don't know how you do it. You're like you said, you're so brave and you get things done. And I'm like, because I have no choice. I'm doing it because this is what I need to do, So it's not anybody in the same position, I would hope, would do the same things that I do,
Well, they would probably be reaching towards the same goal, but everybody has their own way of doing things.
True.
So what might be, what works for you and your son would not work for them and theirs.
True.
But that's such a big job.
Yeah. It's different, but
well, it is. And I mean, I have no doubt that you handle it with everything positive that there is. You're one of the most positive people I know.
Oh, thank you.
So, well, it is what it is, but yeah, that's important. And it's important to acknowledge sometimes that, this is what it is. And I am busting a hump here, but I'm still here. I love that I'm still here part.
Yeah.
Because you are.
Right.
And everything's perfect in its own way.
Exactly. And the thing is about things like that in life is that you learn more about yourself when you're put to help others. Yes. It benefits you as well. It's not like you're just like, if anybody's like, I'm always helping other people. But if you look at it in the way of what you're learning while you're helping others, you're benefiting yourself as well,
Absolutely. The compassion side of the human, does that come through in dreams? I mean, do people find ways to support themselves through their dreams?
Definitely. Yeah. That's also a big one, is that, really that's what the subconscious is doing, is it's, whether it's a message for you or just trying to filter out all the stuff that went on through the day and kind of dismiss things that aren't needed and just address things, emotions that maybe you had. I mean, it could be something really simple, like you were at the office and there's somebody else that works there that just isn't nice to you. And maybe they said something to somebody else and you saw them look at you, and you've carried the weight of that all day, not realizing that it's not about you, that's about them, right? And so you might get a message in your dream that's, giving you some sort of love or support, or maybe, you're killing off, you dream you killed that person, but it really what you're doing is you're killing off the aspect of yourself that, gives a flip that this person is the way they are. You know what I mean?
I do. So there's an incredible amount of power in dreaming.
Yes.
And like with your dream journals, with your dream journeys, when you get to where you just have no rope left to put a knot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you reinforce yourself to the point that you wake up and it's like, okay, I've got this. This is what I saw. This is what I'm going to do. And we're just going to, can you coach yourself through your dreams?
I believe that that's what's happening anyways. But yeah, I mean, if you're at the end of your rope with something, maybe it's a job that it just isn't working out. And so you would set the intention to say, I just can't work with these people anymore. I've got to find something else. And so you're proactively looking for other work, maybe taking classes to develop a skill so that you can move on to this other job. But you want to also, talk with yourself in your dreams and say, what else do I need to know? What do I need to look out for? Because a lot of times there's still self-work. So, I mean, we're not all perfect. So we always contribute to whatever the problem is. So maybe you're having problems at work, but and the people maybe aren't great, but you're not helping the situation. And so sometimes the dreams will come in and come out as nightmares, but it's really telling you to work on yourself. Maybe you're too negative, or maybe you're not social enough, or maybe, you get offended too easily. And so the dreams are telling you this, but you're missing that. You're just focusing on what a bad work environment it is, but you're not realizing that you're contributing to it as well. Maybe, And so a lot of times people, they don't want to look at that. People don't really want to look at themselves a lot. They want it to be,
they don't.
An outside thing. But a lot of times it's self-work, shadow work. You've got to, so before you move on to the next job or the next relationship, you want to make sure that you're whole and that you're listening to what your dreams are telling you about the things you need to work on for yourself. And so sometimes it can feel kind of negative, but usually if you're in a bad situation, you're at the end of your rope, there is a lot of shadow work to do.
Well, define shadow work for me.
Shadow work is discovering the things that you need to work on for yourself. Like, do you hold on to bitterness or negativity or anger, or what is it that, how are you stepping in your own way? How are you stepping on your own toes? That's, you're figuring that out. Belief systems, things that hold you back.
Interesting. That is something that's awfully hard to confront sometimes.
Yeah, it is. It can be all nightmares. And if you're not prepared for it, it might not feel too good, and you might not resolve anything just by saying, I want to work on things. But if you're not really going to focus on finding these things out, working on them, it won't help you and you'll end up having bad dreams,
Right. A true nightmare.
Yeah. And sometimes if it's so bad, then you need to go to a therapist and have them work with you, through the dreams and other methods. It just depends on where you're at when you say end of the rope, but therapy, yeah. And a lot of therapists will work with you on your dreams if you ask them.
See, that is something that interests me, because I did, when I got out of that situation and relocated in a safe, good spot, I actually found a therapist to just talk this through, because I'm like, how did this happen? How do I prevent it happening in the future? Because obviously I had control over this idiot's behavior. Yeah. Had to learn to let that go too. And it really is something that just basically you're taking ownership and resolving your issues.
Right.
That's so powerful.
It is. Yeah. I mean, we all have to own our, nope. Like I said, nobody's perfect. We all have something that we have to work on always,
Well, do you know that I think the things that you have shared here are going to be so that others will be able to, come to you, come to you and stuff, because a lot of my experiences were before the internet, or before I was on the internet.
Yeah.
And I think that especially, I wish that I had the knowledge when I was even younger. But can I ask you about one other kind of dream?
Sure.
And I'm using myself for an example, because I'm not going to bring other people if they don't want their name in there. But, I dreamed that I was little. My dad always had a trailer, one of those little square box trailers to put stuff in and take it off somewhere.
Yeah.
And I dreamed, because I'm definitely afraid of snakes, definitely a past life thing. But my grandmother, who was very prim and proper and rigid, truly rigid, and I were in this trailer, and I was panicked, going back and forth and making it come up and go down, and because there was a snake under it. And I couldn't understand why nobody was killing the snake, or at least getting it out from under us. And my grandmother's out there like a captain on a ship. We'll be fine. We've got this. whatever the vernacular of the day was. But,
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, we're not okay. We're going to be bitten by that snake. We're going to die. Nobody is helping us, and that I must have been 4 years old when I dreamed that. And it's still just like yesterday.
Wow.
Right.
And did you spend time with your grandparents? When you were 4?
Well, with my grandmother, not nearly as much. Her husband died when I was about 3, about the same age as that kid of me in that trailer. And, which I just realized, but we did try to spend some time together. She had health issues. She was epileptic. And at that time that was a big deal.
Yeah.
And, because the treatments were so horrid.
Yeah.
And, it was my dad's mom. He was an only child. So we did spend time with her. But I mean, I can't imagine that in real life she would have leapt from that and slain the snake and we would have gone off and had a strawberry cake. But, it's just, she made me strawberry cakes. I still love them. But, I just found that so interesting when I just realized age I was when her husband died.
Right. And she was saying that she was going to be okay. And the snake you said she had health issues. What could it have been that, when you were a child, you were afraid because somebody or your grandfather had just passed away, or her husband had just passed away. And then you all of a sudden were noticing death, the first time as a 4-year-old, and the snake was the idea of death. I don't know.
Well, and, when I described her, it just dawned on me, I kept saying rigid, right? Well, she and I were in the kitchen one morning and she had a seizure. She had grand mal epilepsy.
Yeah.
And I was tiny. I was walking, but she hit the ground and I was just like, oh, I need help, and I went and got my dad and he got her in bed and got everything set. And then we left.
Yeah.
I didn't see her better then because she had to sleep through what was happening.
Right.
And, and we weren't there when she got up. So the rigidity, it was the only first and only time I've ever seen that. I know now what to do for someone, but obviously as a little kid, you don't.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's probably it. Yeah, maybe the snake was her writhing in the floor.
See how that works? Just by talking about the dream, you were able to work it out and what it actually meant.
That's crazy.
Right?
I mean, because if I hadn't been talking to you, I would not have recognized wow.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Thank you.
It is, right?
Well, I'm going to do more of this.
Definitely.
Because I think everybody has dreams that they don't want to show up anymore.
Yes. Yeah. And then sometimes if you have repetitive dreams, you need to address what's going on so that you can make them stop or make them evolve.
Evolution's usually better, I would think.
Yeah.
Because if you have to have it evolve in order for it to be a full stop.
Right.
That is so interesting. And you just do this for all kinds of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
have a website. You can actually go on there and ask for a dream interpretation. And I only charge $25, which is a really good price.
That is a really good price. I don't know anybody that only charges $25 for anything.
That might change eventually, but right now that's what it is.
Well, how many people do you normally get like a week?
Well, I get like probably 20 people a week that ask me for dream interpretations. Not all of them are paying customers, though.
I understand that.
But about, 20 or so. And then I have my own. Sometimes I don't have time to do my own dreams because I'm working on other people's dreams. Because I spend a lot of time. I don't just I can just do like a partial interpretation like I did here on the show, but I will actually go in and completely, analyze the entire dream, all the symbols. I'll share with you what I pulled the symbol to mean and how I put it together. And it kind of gives you a little lesson on the interpretations of you have a dream like a week later and you're like, oh, let me try this for myself. Because I always encourage people to do their own interpretations. But if you get stuck and you're like, I just don't even know, then that's when you can, contact me or somebody else who does dream interpretations to try to like figure that one out. Because some formulas are a little crazier than others. And I also do, I can do a tarot card pull cards, because not everybody's into tarot and stuff. And so I have psychiatry-based cards that I can use as well, kind of give a little extra,
Well, with the psychiatry-based cards, do they, like tarot, are situational to the person you're pulling for?
Right.
Are the psychiatry cards the same?
No, those would be based on the symbol and giving a deeper definition of the actual symbol. So like there's intuitive symbolism, which I usually do first to see what I think. I ask the person, like sometimes when people describe a dream, they're already telling you, like, I saw a snake and I was afraid. So, the snake represents fear. So sometimes you get it, just by doing that. But this would be like the standard dictionary kind of, interpretation. Because some people like that, but sometimes that's not always accurate. You can't say, like if you dream of blue, it means one thing. You have to like look at the entire dream and what's the overall to really understand the symbols. A lot of times people are already telling me what the symbols mean while they're describing the dream.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So
that's why I say write it out.
Well, yeah. I mean, they're doing their work.
Yeah.
Just because they felt like they needed to get with you, yet they're doing the work.
Yeah.
That's so neat. So you're not only helping struggling to help themselves, but you're also helping people by just being a sounding board. Yeah. Or just listening.
Definitely. Yeah. Because, it's fun, to share your dreams. I mean, how many times have you just told a friend about a dream you had? Both like, well, that was weird. And then you just kind of move on, but it's fun if you want to again and really figure out what it means and then come back to think, and then it opens your mind up. Like the light bulb goes off and you're like, oh my God, this just makes me realize,
Mm-hmm. Well, I have friends who have like dream books, like what fish mean and what turtles mean and
right,
all this other stuff. And I'm like, well, that's great, but what does it mean if the turtle comes up out of the sea, bites your head off and spits it out as you,
exactly.
There's all kinds of weird things, but you have to, you can't just, this isn't really just a generalization kind of effort, is it? I mean,
what I do, no.
It's very specific.
Yeah, no, it's very specific to the person. Just looking up, if you had a dream about hot air balloons, you look up hot air balloons, it can mean something different to everybody. Somebody could have been in a hot air balloon accident. So to them, it means, accidents, death, fear, trouble. Somebody else, was drinking wine and enjoying their hot air balloon. For them, it's pleasure and wine and seeing scenery. So, it can be really different for each person. So the only way to figure that out for yourself is to look at the entirety of the dream and write out what each symbol means to you. I do like to use dream dictionaries, and the dream symbols that I do each week on Fridays, I do get information from the standard, what does it mean? But I put my own twist on it to try to people to, I did a mirror. The last one I did, I think, was a mirror. And I wanted people to know that, it's self-reflection, but it depends on what you're seeing in the mirror. And that changes, everything. And so because now you have a second symbol, what was in the mirror, and then that creates what the dream's about.
Wow, that's so interesting. Well, I'm sorry. I think this is just one of the most cool practices I've ever heard of.
Yeah, and, I love it.
As well as I do with what we do, we hear about an awful lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But this is a very self-help kind of thing with just a little bit of guidance, right?
Yeah. And it can be your subconscious. It could be spirit guides. I've had people, like I said, the one gal in the dream study, she spoke with her father in the dream, and she asked him for a physical sign. And when she came out to her car in the morning, there was a sticky cross that was put on her window. I mean, what are the odds that somebody just randomly came by with something sticky and put a cross on her window, And so I was like, that was a spirit visitation.
Well, absolutely it was. Yeah, it's like these silly hummingbirds.
Mm-hmm.
They're cute and adorable, but after my mom died, they started, because I have flowers, that I don't touch. That's why they live. And so I was seeing hummers, and I was like, well, they look hungry. I'll get one of those things. And so now I have a feeder, and, so now my population has grown.
Yeah.
And it's really cute because now they're getting their colors and, they're maturing some.
Yeah.
But all of this stuff is my mom.
Yeah.
I've never been interested in birds.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, really? You're going to have to help out with the nectar mom. That's all there's to it. But it's so cool. And and I don't know. You are just fascinating.
It's a fascinating world, the dream world. It's a whole other world that people are in and they're not even paying attention to.
Yeah.
It's like going to a buffet and not eating the food.
Well, it really is, right? Because our psyche is trying to help us.
Yeah.
And yet we just keep on keeping on and don't ever really avail ourselves of what we're trying to help ourselves with.
Yeah.
That's a convoluted way to say it, but
yeah, you can't grow if you're not going to do the work.
Yeah. Cats, you rock. Now, I'm going to ask you a very weird question, but you're an interviewer.
Okay.
And we've covered a lot of ground, but I would like to know, if you were interviewing yourself, what would be the most important thing to know?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because earlier today, this came to me as a topic that I've never discussed that's really important. But people with children who wake up in the middle of the night or whenever, and they're having night terrors, nightmares, and parents just tell them, it's okay, go back to sleep. It was just a dream. But the reality of it is that is the moment where you should, grab the hot cocoa and your coffee and sit with your child and ask them to tell you about the dream. Because there's something that's bothering their child. It could be something at school, or it could be an illness, who knows? And that is your chance to solve it. So I would say that if you have a young child that's having these nightmares, you need to drop everything and discuss the dream with them, work out the symbols and figure out what it means, because they're going to definitely feel better because they were able to tell you about the dream and you were able to show them, okay, well, these are what these symbols mean. Let's work it out together. And they'll view dreams differently also. So, and I'm going to do an episode about that in the future, because I think that's really important.
Well, let me know when you drop that, because I would like to have a download of it. I have grandchildren, and, they obviously, they'll have a nightmare here or there. Not often, but here or there.
Yeah.
And if they're here doing it, I want to make sure that I remember to do that.
Yeah.
I've only had one of them wake up with nightmares here, which is pretty good because the oldest one's 10. So good track record.
Yeah,
but,
that's good.
But I babysit in their home some too. And they probably, they probably have them there. And how often do people generally have nightmares like that?
Well, I've never read a study on that, so I'm going to have to look that up. But I mean, myself, I will probably, when I did my 20-day study, 2 of them were horrific nightmares. And one was pointing, the one before the 2 nightmares was actually letting me know I was about to have some nightmares. It was pointing in that direction. So, I mean, 3 out of 20 days, whatever that would be,
Right.
So I think it's pretty common. I mean, most of the dreams that people come to me with are nightmares. Something's upsetting them. So.
Well, that's interesting. But I guess if it's a positive thing, you're not going to be that fussed about it.
Yeah, but I feel like positive dreams have really great messages too.
Well, I think they have better messages.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. I think this is actually a form of science that is so underrated. I know that there are dream studies.
Yeah,
I know
definitely.
that science is definitely looking at this. Mm-hmm. And, even when they do sleep studies, they're monitoring dreaming.
Oh, yeah.
So it is such a big deal. And I'm really proud that I know someone like you who is just so into helping people. I really value you. So
thank you.
Thanks for doing such cool stuff.
Yeah.
And we've only got about maybe 5 minutes left. Mm-hmm. But why don't you go ahead and let people know anything that you would like, plus where to find you.
Well, my website is thedreamsinterpreter.com, plural. And then I have a YouTube channel that has a mix of paranormal investigations and my Haunted Hour podcast and some dream symbols that you can watch. And that is, I just changed it. It's Dream Interpretations by Deedee Jabrail. And I'll give you the link so you have it.
Yes, and I'll post it.
Okay. And then I have a Facebook with the same name. And then you can catch me Monday nights on YouTube on Paranormally Blonde with myself and Sarah. And we have different guests, and it's mostly paranormal topics. And that's all I can think of. And like I said, the dream interpretations, if you're interested in having a dream interpretation, you can actually get it right on the site and submit it on the site. So I've made it really streamlined. And
well, I love your site also, by the way, because I've been perusing it all week. And you do a lot. You offer a lot there.
Yeah. I have gift certificates too. Like if you want to give the gift of dream interpretations for somebody, because we're always looking for like gifts for people. And it's like, what are you going to get? Especially so you get them like a $25 gift card to Panera, which is fine. But giving them the gift of a dream interpretation with a physical gift certificate, I think is really cool.
I think it's really cool too. I think physical gift certificates are great anyway, because, we're so streamlined now.
Yeah.
And it's just like, put a little thought.
Yeah.
And I'm the world's worst. I am not throwing stones here, but my husband thinks and ponders and analyzes and, just finds the perfect gift for whomever. And I'm like, let's see, you look like shoes today. Okay, that's what you're getting. I'm just not the most intuitive gifter. And it's neat to give something that will help you help yourself. I just think that's neat.
That came to me in a dream too.
Did it really?
Dream study. Yep. My dream study literally told me that I need to do that. And I woke up, I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant.
That is brilliant. That's so cool.
Right? That's what you can do.
So I have got my notebook and my things that I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to start tonight.
Cool.
So thanks so much for sharing.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for being had. Now I am going to be tuning into your shows, so everyone else will too. And I've just got to tell you, thank you so much for being here. It's been fun.
Yeah, definitely.
I love when I get to have a good time with my friends.
Yes.
So for everyone listening, I appreciate you so much. If you need to, there will be archives of the show. I will post that when they're available. And thank you so much for joining us. And I hope you enjoyed Deedee nearly as much as I did. And don't forget, Coming right behind here, we've got Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis, and that is one of the better parts of the X. Thank you for joining us. Good night.